Being a Sigma INFJ entails being the master of one's course and the commander of one's ship. It entails setting trends and defying conventions while upholding one's moral principles. Sigma INFJs are capable of all of these tasks without asking their friends for advice. But you should quit performing these 10 things if you are not a Sigma INFJ. Number 10. Making an effort to stand out. This so-called main character syndrome is prevalent in most persons, wherein regardless of their actual relevance, they see themselves as the main character in everyone's story. They exaggerate how important they are in every circumstance, encounter, and conversation, because they detest the concept of becoming the same as everyone else. Don't try too hard to stand out if you're not a Sigma INFJ. Instead, just be yourself and appreciate your true personality. After you've done this, everything will fall into place, and you'll begin to naturally blossom as you were intended to. Comparing oneself to the singular Sigma INFJ will only lead to forced outward displays of charisma. This would be the same as ruining your reputation. You have the ability to stand out in authentic ways that are different from how Sigma INFJs do. Number 9. Taking big chances. Risk-taking is a privilege and a drive for Sigma INFJs because they have keen intuition. They pay attention to their intuition and can tell if there is something out there for them or not. However, if you are not a Sigma INFJ, your intuition might not be as keen as theirs. It could also imply that you are unable to judge situations objectively. It's acceptable to be hesitant if you believe something to be too risky to take. If you don't have the motivation that risk-takers like Sigma INFJs do, don't even consider jumping without taking safety procedures. Your physical and mental well-being may be seriously jeopardized if you lack a strong intuition, particularly when you ignore the obvious aspects that play a role in the decision-making process. But is the intuitive truly incapable of taking a chance? Number 8. Expressing views that are offensive. Your offensive opinions are terrible unless you're a Sigma INFJ. It does not, however, imply that you have no right to adopt a novel position on contentious issues. If you express such forbidden beliefs, you might not make it through the reaction and condemnation that comes with it. Even if you mean well, people will still perceive you as unpleasant and disrespectful. While Sigma INFJs have the self-assurance to maintain their position despite criticism, you could require more self-assurance. Sigma INFJs are aware that they will not be upset by this critical criticism of their ideas, but you might not be. And for this reason, you must express your thoughts carefully. Once more, it's acceptable to form divisive ideas. However, if you ever have these thoughts racing through your head, make sure you are courageous, mature, and emotionally strong enough to survive when detractors attack you and undermine your self-esteem. Number 7. Being reclusive and alone. Don't act as though you enjoy living alone or by yourself if you don't. Just because the Sigma INFJ was able to do it amicably doesn't mean you should cut yourself off from the individuals you enjoy talking to or spending out with. The thing about Sigma INFJs is that they don't mind spending time by themselves. They don't mind not having somebody to chat or converse with. If they are separated from the rest of their classmates, they won't feel gloomy or dissatisfied or bored, because they are self-sufficient and comfortable with who they are inside. However, don't exclude yourself from social situations like Sigma INFJs did if you are not used to this level of tranquility and alone. Living on your own and emotionally separating from partnerships that are important to you is never simple. If you are willing to practice detachment and solitude like Sigma INFJs, be certain that you mean it. You'll miss your social life if you don't. But why do you believe that emotional detachment is so important? Number 6. Sacrificing friendships for your health. The Sigma INFJ can tolerate being alone, but tragically, the majority of individuals can't, which may include you. Your social life and character development depend on your buddies. They are crucial for both your mental and emotional health. Don't cut friendships off as quickly as Sigma INFJs do if you can't handle being a man on an island. Sigma INFJs can function without these friendships, however you might not be able to. Number 5. With extremely high standards. Sigma INFJs enjoy having high expectations since they are sure they can meet them on their own. They firmly believe they are not simply projecting their own expectations onto others. Instead, they uphold these norms in themselves and would ideally observe others doing the same. Therefore, if you don't have these goals like the Sigma INFJ, you shouldn't merely establish impossible standards for the sake of it. If maintaining high standards actually has the opposite effect, reduce your voice. If you can't live up to high expectations yourself, you'd better not apply them to your relationships. In order to avoid hurting individuals they anticipate to meet these standards from, Sigma INFJs feel responsible for having them. And you should consider your motivations if you ever do the same, and adjust your own expectations in accordance. Do you have unreasonable, high standards? Number 4. Having the self-assurance to adjust to any change. There is nothing wrong with making adjustments to life's changes. It's actually a strength and a commendable characteristic. Fast-paced and socially challenging situations also need it. On the other hand, some people frequently underestimate the effects of significant environmental changes. Not everyone is capable of handling these abrupt shifts, even someone as emotionally strong as a Sigma INFJ. These alterations, whether they are good or bad, might have an unexpected impact on your routines, perspectives, and attitudes. You could get into difficulties if you don't have the same level of emotional resilience as Sigma INFJs. Don't be too hard on yourself when it's not required. When you believe you still need to prepare for becoming lost in unexpected situations, maintaining the status quo is acceptable. Number 3. Seeming not to care. Sigma INFJs don't make an effort to appear powerful. They are not making an effort to suppress their feelings in order to make themselves appear untouchable to their adversaries. Instead, they are innately unaffected by the drama that those around them stir up. They are unaffected by the hostility and repercussions that come with having a strong viewpoint and being brutally honest. These robust creatures even value vulnerability. Don't bottle up your feelings only to let them out later. Instead, be honest about your lack of mental fortitude and emotional maturity. It's acceptable to display emotional openness when someone disparages or chastises you for your behavior. It's acceptable to rant and cry if you want to. Not everyone can survive in the tough world without displaying a lot of emotions, unlike Sigma INFJs. Have you ever pretended to be unconcerned before snapping later? Number 2. Stepping outside of your comfort zone prior to being prepared. Because intuitive risk-takers like Sigma INFJs desire freedom and adaptability, they are never stagnant. They seek freedom from the tide at all times. Consequently, individuals should stop doing things they already know how to perform. They always look forward to learning new things. Individuals attempt something they have never done before in order to develop their mastery and understanding for future uses. They follow the trend and pave the way for bigger, better changes in their lives. If you don't have the desire and readiness that Sigma INFJs do, though, reconsider your strategy. Not all experiences outside of your comfort zone will be liberating or energizing. In actuality, it will sound more constricting and unclear. Most individuals have a tendency to romanticize the idea of being uncomfortable, and then underestimate the suffering that it could cause. However, if you have carefully considered your risks, you should be fine. Number 1. Lowering your standards. If you don't want other people to think you're stupid, don't get less intelligent. Sigma INFJs don't feel insecure about their own intelligence, which gives them the confidence to make themselves appear stupid. They also don't care what other people think of them. They therefore simplify themselves in an effort to appear more approachable and understandable to others around them, even if it means appearing foolish. And if you can't take the amount of discrimination and rejection for coming across as a fool, avoid doing it, unless you are too sophisticated and complicated for people to comprehend. Have you ever attempted to sound stupid in order to sound more relatable to your peers? Sigma INFJs have lived amazing lives and taken risks because of the way they regulate their emotions and rewire their thinking. It's not a bad idea to play it safe and embrace your originality if you don't have the same abilities and fortitude. Have you ever met an INFJ Sigma? What do you think of them?